right, let's dance. Chris dances with grizzly bears here, or monkeys or whatever. We'll be doing this one here in a second. I don't generally take on Hancock. He's pretty good in the department of civilizations I don't really know, their actual vocations, the terms of the day that quantify the names on a timeline. But we'll be getting into some green hydrogen here, turning the Copper John pitch of the model. So I'm going to do a quick review before we actually get into this to help set my nest my subnet, or subnetting nesting, or however you like to describe FX function of the Dominion here. Um, be that monster is an alpha beta situation. We're going to get into Y, ball wave, and black body radiation problem, photon, gluon, W boson. So some models of quark stars, black hole stars, now that they're integrating into the set, there's ways to do, when I said green hydrogen with the Copper John, LNG against hydrogen gas, in how you do the reduction or how you drop something out of solution like that, whether it be A or B, alpha, beta types of models. And I think, I'm kicking up a good base here. Dual diagnosis to certain systems, religions, timelines. These may not actually be lined up to the 2,000 years, or how I would even integrate that now in today's systems when I have more information with this. Uh, that toe, that bend, or those jank sandals he's wearing. Take away their shoes, right? We're gonna get into that here, caveman of the day. Um, take away their ability to run sharps, and they're gonna have to sit and listen inside of here. Then the conquistadors come by and wipe it out, or Christopher Columbus sets into it, and somebody brings a weapon in the courthouse. You get ganked, but there's a start trusting you now, Sheldon. He knows the numbers. It's the game. You're gonna have to play the 10% of the bullshit until you get it. Elon and some of those other ones you saw up top there. This kind of thing is him pitching about Higgs is the one that got it. Yeah, no, you don't really know the combinations of what they did there to set up on who knows what inside of the house about getting too crazy. Bolton and the Beast here. So hopefully I'm getting through that here. The computers that can do those things, or me doing the hoodoo voodooery, just tossing a voodoo doll off the edge of the cliff, is going to give me that hydrogen pitch, that resonant frequency of a solid. He was doing cold steel, hot steel. That's enriching by photons, alpha, beta differently. And if you don't know how to do that, that makes this basically a hydrogen fusion reactor, or yes or no to the margins. First flat, it'll go down, then up to the distance of what you quantify zero on the lensing before the wave function, soidal sinal cost, which we'll be getting into some of that math here in a minute. Maybe just a pair of those needle nose vice grips with a notch in it. Now I know a function of the Dominion. This, when you hear him talk about it, and he takes it this serious. That's why I think I started with him, or one of the clinical versions, drilling it out the tip of the bit there. This is an important phase of the looming technique, not just necessarily as a kid's development in the system, or how you develop your understanding of primitive cultures, decay states of elements, enriching. There's different field charges of how that stuff would be a fusion reactor, and a lot of people like to talk about the crypto. But in the end of the day, you wind up doing that to figure out, I need just how to unstuck my potatoes with my knife, right? So here's where we're getting into it, and it's hard to find people that can actually show you what a delta looks like. We're going to go through this information, talk about the speed of light there, 2.2 or 4.4, I forget which one it is. We're going to go be writing all that down. They know it like it's a triangulation that they can actually drop out of solution when doing special topic time adjustment due to relativistic equations, being that this is E is eccentric state. to the muon, but the gravitational mass of the planet's generally known. The circle, how much is in it in field theory, but Fx is what's happening there at theta when you put it all on a 45, which makes it all triangles for you. And so geometry relative, both cryptotoa over there of the triangle, but also any other variance on those is going to have some quantum chromodynamics to in town, Jones, Bones, FX is real close to that, Copper John, hydrogen systems here. Swiffer says in this Bibbit game of there had to be a rule. Biomass was the limit. If that's what it is inside of that time frame, then that's what I have to have that evolution of Swiffer says. He won the game by doing it like that. So, boy, you ain't kidding. Here I'm actually talking. Oh, I didn't have the picture of it. Oh, summer's back. I actually was getting into this thing, and they're talking about black hole stars, I think, in this. Quark stars. No. So, black hole stars was later today. They're pretty neat. It's like 10 to the negative 20, 34, 48, 42 early universe, that material before it starts to break down in that reaction to generations of lengths and triangles at that point in time give you a more practical reason by doing feet per second or pascals or a wave function that is based in, okay, so at the throw of the managed area, demand in there between the ranges, up and down here, give me those time adjustment equations to what type of structure that is, why that prime measurement is kind of in that form. And you're going to drop things out of solution like that. You're going to make the magnetism in the thing, you're going to be an electrician a little bit. That's okay. When I'm, you chair force over there, Air Force variance is this if you're doing it right, but that would be what you dropped out of solution. They're probably talking about SEAL training over there in this. You gotta soak them in the ocean and do stuff with them, but there was one about a good Roman guard. Like one of the first ones over there in the Warhammer game that really tells you they're both in Warhammer. You can use that future game, but you can also use that as a way to remember the Ottoman Empire and Rome and Napoleon and a bunch of other stuff, which is also ADP in a different way. So depending on what your training camp is, you'll get that Rubik's Cube design for resumes or long-term goals. How much time we've been running, I'm not real sure. So for me, just leaving that there about which civilization, that's great. I will pack that in there with some Escoterica, the SCP Foundation. Yeah, Escoterica, pretty good. But for the most part, what we're really dealing with here is this quantification of angular photon, gluon, W boson, Z boson. If alpha, then beta. But this is what they're doing when specifically talking about the mechanical crypto that actually allows you to add up the numbers and know that the result should be from this number. It will X in ranges of black holes, stars, voltage, amperages, volume, mass, some equation like that. I'm just saying, I mean, if wave function and sound technology are parts of the X and Y, alpha, beta line to the measurements, whether it be time or space, then that's what sets up our superdeterminism by L brackets, is what I like to say. 45's on training day, right? Out there. See, for me, I've actually, and we'll get into that here in a minute, not necessarily some of those things, but what you can do with what the technology is when you see it in hand, when you understand that, okay, so it's a bridge saw running some things, getting it there, cutting it up, but not necessarily to the size or scope that would be. No, we're Michelangelo's team figuring out what to do with that stuff with the crack in it to still make it practical for the team while they're still looking for the 70 ton or 36 SUVs worth a mass inside of there for what that system is. And here we're working the Honan team, making sure that this is lined up from that rough approximation of what it was have to be, because it's a squared circle problem. I mean, you can make it as tight as you can, but they are, in a sense, still different. That's why you can't have crack in that stone. And so again, you get into those quadrants, why it does what it does, and lines up on the axes and measurements, where again you could fold this and say any quadrant of that is 1. This is all 1 on an axis of that 45, pi 2, pi 3, before you get into periods and mods that make that a wave function. But take that from the stone mill, or some of these guys work in the system, and well, you only got so many options, really. What did I say to that? I said something. Oh, yeah. You're gonna get into some fun stuff, whether it's true, whether it's not, whether this is real or not, and who can you believe, or why is it worth believing it. In terms of this one, I'm pretty sure happened. If that's a real one stone dig out monument inside of there, that's pretty boss. I gotta admit, I'm gonna have to kick my nickel into the pot there. But take off my boots, I don't know, man. You gotta set up a Zoom class or something. Piccolo don't get no shits. So we could, and I'm glad that that's there to do that, and just like JP or any of the other big ones. Play with the structure. Now that you've seen this, can we change out the frequency of what you're picking up on? What's your, how do we explain certain timelines or certain systems of, not necessarily that this was a real nuclear reactor, they happen naturally, but how you could probably put some stuff together, hopefully, and figure some of that out. I'm going to throw things up there. You got to pack around like you're going for big game, like here, if you're going to do that. If back in the day, you got to take it all away. That's going to give you a closer insight. If we could de-extinct the species, some Jurassic Park system, then what we still have today as against the biodome to any of its biological functions, to how it was designed in time topology, is going to be super critical. It's going to make a survival function there. I hate to make about the racism and all, but Rabbit Stew says, like, look, I mean, there's going to be way about survival in there on theirs, and that's the rolls of the bones, ain't it? I mean, that's loaded dice there. If you were really good on the boat, the crew probably wouldn't get it, or the genealogy. When he's going through this, there's the earpiece, the brain piece from Elon stuff, and before you start getting to eating Necrons and or metal or anything else, and Nargles type, and getting that because you don't have enough heresy in your diet. Oh yeah, when you get into property tax on what? So the government and the church don't mug me. I pay it on everything else I do. I mean, I thought that was the deal. Say we got some damn warship gene. Well, a little bit. I mean, eventually there's ants to consider into there, unless there really are a different species that couldn't necessarily breed with us at any variant, which would be most modeled to a virus cut off from a long-term differential of a long gap on systems that you couldn't really determine. I mean, it's not too alien to think about the octopus and consider, well, let's take a look under the sea here and say what else is close to that neighborhood. Yeah, I know, right? Down here, of doom. Well, his is gonna be, for the obvious nature of that, is a fusion reactor essentially in that tomb, that King's Chamber there, the desert of the kings. So I think that's a fair place to leave it. We could talk about some fractals all day, how there's really keen geometry setups, how to make this system those geometry states. Just dehydrate the whole bird with borax and everything, make it in an industrial one, not necessarily getting that hackle all from a saddle for $70 at, whatever kind of bull crap. Sure. Catch you on the next one.